race, and we have 4 candidates, and we'll ask them different questions. We will also try to get in some questions from you in the audience. Then the race for Congress, District 6. We have invited all the candidates. We'll see who shows. We begin now. No opening and closing statements. Remember, this is a live broadcast, so when we go to questions, please be brief. We're going to come right to you now, and I'm going to take the first question to the chairman. Earlier today, Jason Davis, we talked about the homeless challenge that Volusia County faces in general. The city of Daytona Beach will have a vote to begin the process of trying to work something out in terms of facility. If re-elected as the chairman of the county council, what's your vision for the county's participation in the solving of the homeless problem?
Hey, well, my vision is something I've actually been working on ever since 90 days or beginning of the year. The county actually put up land. We said we'll give you so many acres, $4 million for infrastructure, help build this homeless center, and we'll get it moving forward. Of course, we didn't have any takers except for Daytona Beach, who said, yes, we've got to take it. They had a problem. So ever since then, that's kind of died and fallen to the wayside, but I haven't given up. So instead of going out to the municipalities, because they weren't active and working and helping with us, so what I did is I went over to Catholic Charities. I've sat down with the Catholic Charities, and they have written up a proposal. I will be presenting that proposal this Thursday to the county council, saying we need to bring this forward to discussion because they have a plan. They've been doing this for years and years all around the country.
Is this the same proposal? Forgive me. Is this the same proposal the faith group has? No. You said Catholic Charities, so this is different.
It's a totally different thing.
Okay.
So I will bring the proposal forward on Thursday. We'll discuss it in chambers and hopefully get it back before the council. Maybe we can actually get moving forward on that.
What kind of a financial commitment would the county have to make?
They said they would like to get some infrastructure money. They'd also like to get that land, but we're not building this big, huge. It's not in the plans to build this big, huge, fancy building, like the news trail something. We're talking a very basic, standard steel building. It's insulated, that has control, has temperature control. We have little offices in there, and it's right next to. We want to put it right next to where Stuart Marshall is. So I'm going to continue working on the project.
Okay, Ed Kelly, question comes to you now on the homeless challenge. You've encouraged your city of Ormond Beach as mayor to contribute, I believe, $100,000 potentially to faith. That's what we were told. If you're elected chairman, how do you propose to take on this homeless issue?
I think the real reason that we're where we are right now is we've had the lack of someone taking the leadership position. And the homeless issue is not just in Ormond, not in Daytona, not in DeLand or Deltona. It's in the county. It's a county-wide program. And I think the county needs to take the leadership position. Had a great opportunity in January. We got an issue when Mayor Henry reached out to the county to discuss the issues. Hope we never see what we saw in January on the streets again. And the county said no. And now then, I think the county has said they pull the money back. I think what we need to do is we need to have the county agree to be the ones to take the leadership, to be able to bring together the funding, and you can bring together the funding through the faith-based groups. The county needs to control it. I don't think an outside agency is the one that needs. We need the county to bring the outside agencies together to provide the faith-based, the social services network, the private sector, and the public sector. One person operating in the county managers, in the county's office. You already have a social services person who handles $12 to $14 million. So why can't that person be in charge of bringing those 4 organizations, 4 groups of people together?
Follow-up, do you propose a homeless czar to run this thing?
It wouldn't be a czar, it would be an employee of the county.
Okay. It would be a new position.
A new position.
Okay. Greg Gimbert, your thoughts, if elected chairman, how would you take on the issue of dealing with a homeless situation? No one expects you to solve it, but your vision.
Okay, how many people here were at the Tiger Bay Club debate? Can you show of hands real quick? Well, those that were, they've adopted the outlines that were there. And I'll tell you what my vision is. I am a supporter of Safe Harbor. I'm a supporter of Margaret on a much smaller scale. It was great to hear the word of big steel building. I propose that we consider an aircraft hangar type thing. So if we ever get a solution to this, the building could actually be reused. I propose that it was unconscionable to stick the cities up for their lunch money to make this happen, which should be solved by the county. It's a county level problem. That's why we give so much tax money to the county to handle these types of things. As far as staffing and funding, it should start off very, very sparse. I mean, maybe Matt's on the floor, but the other monies that we give to support services, these public-private partnerships, we need to move the cheese. We need to condition any future funding of homeless-related services that go to the single men, the drunks, the druggies, the real problems. Condition the continued funding on those to relocate out to safe harbor on their own dime, or we move that money to somebody who will.
Tom Laputka, as the mayor of Orange City, you also spoke with us earlier today. You've been part of this state solution as well. You've gone to Miami with other civic leaders. What is your proposal? What is your plan to tackle this issue if you're elected county chair?
Well, to date, we've, Mark, and first, I appreciate you being here. You've been here a long day. But we've started that, over a year ago when we started the roundtable discussions. I've been on the subcommittees. We've had countless meetings. They seem endless from time to time. We don't seem to go anywhere, but then they do. But it's this, the trip that we took to South Florida, we took and went to the Chapman Center in Miami. And here was a shelter that was built and conceived and built in the early 1990s. But before they built the building, they had to find a revenue stream, which they did. And the revenue stream was a liquor tax that seems to be just theirs and theirs alone. But it doesn't necessarily fund the shelter. The shelter was set up to deal with chronically adult men, and that's not what happens today. It's a much larger facility. The revenue stream does not cover the cost of operation, but over the 100,000 people that have gone through there, they claim that 63% have been put back into homes.
There's an exit question, then I'll move to the next one, and it kind of follows this. County Councilman Josh Wagner, in his appearance on our program earlier today, said, we don't need a new tax element to this effort, or do we go with a new funding mechanism to pay for it?
Well, it's another tax. My goodness, our tax is not already. So no, another tax is not on the table for me. But let me clarify something. The $700 million budget is divided between school board, fire services, the police department, MSD. It also goes out with other CRAs that go to all the cities. There's $6.5 million there. I mean, we've got all this money. By the time we get done cutting all this money out and paying it to the taxing authority itself, Volusia County is about $40 million. It's going to cost at start $3.5 million to open the homeless shelter, the Catholic Services, and I would like to call it the center. The homeless center is going to cost $3.5 million to operate in the first year. The next year, it's going to go up about $500,000, and it will continue to grow.
Who says it's going to go up? Forgive me, I'm not.
I mean, this is just, we're going at a 4% increase in values and normal inflationary climate. It's going to cost more.
Okay, but to go to the question, so I don't lose anybody, because you talk about
No
the
more
Catholic
taxes.
charities.
I'm not
No
gonna
new
tax
taxes.
I'm not going to tax anybody. If we can find the $3.5 million to help them off for the first year, that's a discussion. But I'm not willing to start a new tax. We're going to have to find some other way because we cannot afford to run it.
Frank Gimbert.
We already have the money. We don't need a new tax on anything, not for roads, not for schools, not for anything. What we're spending now is $70 a day to jail people who should be in a substance abuse or a mental health facility. If we use the safe harbor model, we'll spend about $15 a day if things go according to Hoyle. If they don't go according to Hoyle, they're off our streets and back in the jail at $70 a day we're paying now. We have a temporary problem where they're not in jail because we don't have a Pottinger compliant shelter. We shouldn't be at paralysis by analysis. If all of the experts are right, from the faith-based communities all the way to the judicial, they all agree that it's way cheaper to do this. So if it runs right, it will save us money.
Mr. Mayor Laputka, earlier you talked about the funding mechanism was created in Miami, but the marketplace is much larger. This was a self-imposed tax on bars that were above a certain amount in sales. You said that would not work here. How would you go about funding this? Existing revenues within the budget, or create a new funding mechanism to pay for this?
I wouldn't create a new funding mechanism through taxes, definitely not. I don't think that's right. But what they do down there, the model that we're seeing is that they have a small revenue stream coming from the liquor tax. It's not a great one, and it doesn't run that existing center, but it is a model. And what they're doing is it's actually a private partnership. managed to build that to where it is culturally acceptable in their community. I'm not saying that's the case, but they get an awful lot of private backers each year to run that center, just using that as a model. I'm not necessarily advocating.
Okay. Mr. Question is going to come to you first, and the others will be allowed to comment to a different degree. Not necessarily Mr. Gimbert's answer, but you're in a unique position. You were the face of the opposition largely on this decision by the county council to create a means to take cars off the beach from two properties if they met a criteria in building. You were against this. You fought to have this not happen. The criteria has not been met yet, so nothing has happened. My question to you is, was this your primary reason for running for county council chairman? And if elected, would you work to reverse the vote of the previous council?
No, yes.
Is that your primary reason for it? No, I'm not arguing.
No.
So
The misconception about what it is that me and our friends started to do with what Volusia vote was that it was about beach driving, and that's not true. What the whole genesis of what Volusia vote was to use the uniquely American power to adjust the scope and the depth of the powers that you lend your politicians. And that's only done by the people, because believe me, they won't adjust themselves. And that's done by the initiative referendum process. There are many things we need to adjust the scope and power on, and use the means of land use and water pumpage and so forth. But my gosh, the community finally got off its rear over beach driving. And what a disappointment when we met that threshold and we got the ability to adjust that scope and depth of the powers of which gentlemen like these operate. And the court said it wasn't legal based on a law that doesn't exist. That's one of the primary reasons I ran. Because if you're not going to let me do it honestly, if you're not going to let this community have a vote honest on that, then I'll give them a vote on me, because I'm a lot more than beach driving.
let me follow up. How will you spearhead change on this issue? How will you spearhead change?
Well, to be honest, I can't spearhead change. I'm just one guy, and you hear that all the time. But unlike me running for a district seat, I'm running for the chair, and that gives this whole county a very unique opportunity. Because for the first time in my life, this community has a chance to vote, not for me, but for a set of policy ideas, very specific ones. Like a vote for me is telling the county council to eat those beach holes like they're broccoli, because it's good for us economically.
You want to give her a beach tour?
Absolutely, immediately.
Okay.
And-
We may come back to, I want to give the others an
Okay.
opportunity to weigh in.
But there's more, but I'll back out
Okay.
for now. Go ahead, guys.
Marilyn Putkus.
Well, I'm a beach driving advocate. You're gonna ask me a question?
Yeah, the question, you get the same question if you want. Would you work to change the policy that was put in place by the current council?
No, not at all.
No?
No, I believe I believe the way the government is structured. I believe we work within those boundaries. Absolutely. No, I'm a beach driving advocate. I believe we have the traditional beach driving, especially Daytona Beach was built up to that.
Yes.
Racing was here a long time ago on the beach.
Okay.
And all the pictures that I have with my children, it's out of the back of the station wagon on the beach.
Get rid of the beach stalls?
I think the beach tolls are
Practical?
Yep.
Okay. I want to come to you, Mr. Chairman, if you want to rethink this, because you were part of it, and made this policy happen. I'll repackage the question, ask you, would you like to change the policy at all if you're reelected, or stay the course? You can take each toll separately.
The only thing that I wanted to change on that policy before it went to the council is I wanted temporary event permits. We issue these all the time. Long Beach has one over at New Romano Bar at any time. See, if we take cars off the beach today, they are never going back. But in the temporary event permit, all it's got to say is, okay, you didn't meet the requirement, poles don't go up, or if you did meet it and you failed to maintain it, poles are up and the cars go back up. I like most of these guys around here. I mean, I was on the beach when I was like 6. I think I took my first date to the beach all the way from Apopka just because, I don't know, there was a good sunset or something, sunrise or something. Who knows why? But I mean, I used to camp up. Now, would I change policy? No. I can't change that policy because there's not a support for it.
Beach tolls.
Beach tolls. Now, let me tell you, beach tolls, if you don't have a beach toll, who's going to pay? Who's gonna pay for law enforcement, for your lifeguards, for the trash pickup, for the maintenance of the ramps? Well, we're just gonna take it out of the general fund? We're
Okay.
already subsidizing it by $3 or $4 million every year.
And not being obtuse, I'm gonna come to Ed Kelly and I'll come back, but some people say, well, I pay ad valorem taxes. I'm already paying for the beach. I pay for rent. My rent is factored in with taxes. I'm already paying.
Show me the line on your taxes where you're paying for a beach.
Comes in the general fund.
General fund.
I mean, they don't break down every
No.
dollar.
Okay, yeah. Show me where it is. You pay for the beach, but you're not paying, we subsidize. If we didn't do this, it would be much, much more, like $8 million, I believe, is the number. It's a big chunk of money to cover all the costs of the beach. Okay, now, that would require an increase in your ad valorem tax to cover that cost, otherwise, we're gonna start running into financial problems.
Mayor Kelly, you were always a city guy. You were always fighting with the county. You wanted to make sure there were more entrances to the beach. To give you the question in two parts, would you want to change what the council had approved on this car removal policy as it stands? And then you can also answer the question about beach tolls.
Let's go to the proposed hometown democracy, which is the defeating of the constitutional amendment, which is what Volusia is. Changing our basic government, which is working. I'm not ready to change the constitution. We don't need to be a hometown democracy. That's on the ballot in 2008, I believe. Rita Alexander led that novel, and we defeated it soundly. So to change the policy, which was put out there to let Volusia vote. I never stopped anybody from voting. Anybody can vote on anything. So let people vote. But to vote on something like that, on every issue that comes before, you can't do that. That would destroy our ability to function.
Okay, what about the beach?
So that, on the beach tolls, I told you on the radio last year, I'm for re-looking at it. I don't think locals should pay a beach toll. I think we can open up the beach ramps. We can put kiosks for the tourists who are not Volusia County residents. I've said this for years. I didn't like beach tolls when they first came out. Half of the money back in the day went for the people that are manning the toll booths. You could also put people on the beaches faster so they can go find them. Go to the beach. Go there. We go to enjoy it. I didn't go in a station wagon. I put ours in the back of the pickup truck. We took our kids to the beach, and I guess I've covered the beach tolls.
Yes.
I've covered the hometown democracy issue.
Okay. Mr. Gimbert, I'm going to come back to you, then each of the remaining three will get one more word. Go ahead, sir. You want to?
Yeah, let's bring this thing back to its rightful place. I see a lot of folks in here that might have been around here for 20 years. And once upon a time, between Dunlawton and Granada, if you could even find an empty storefront to rent, it was like a license to print money. And that was because of the washing in and out of residents and visitors on that beach, whether it's after work or a Sunday. And over the last 20 years, they have slowly constricted off the economic lifeblood of East Volusia for the benefit of oceanfront speculators. And it's damn near killed us. And we have to stop. Everybody has a good game, they talk, but when they had a chance to do something about it, they sat on their hands. I can't do it until you put me there. And by putting me there is the whole community telling the county council on this issue, we don't care what you think, take them off.
Got to move along. I want to give an additional viewpoint, Mr. Chairman.
Well, actually, when this first came out about, I said, no. Matter of fact, it was in the news journal. I said, leave it alone, everybody back off. But you're right, you're one. One vote of 7. And that one vote, and trust me, 4 votes will beat the hell out of a good argument every single time. And guess what? There were 4 votes that were there. Were not mine, but for me to make the law and limit where it is. And it's only limited into the Daytona Beach core area.